All right, so we have Dr. Hassan Abdullahi online now. I'm just going to introduce him and bring him up his podium for his presentation. Dr. Hassan Abdullahi is an engineer training and is also a banker by training and by profession. Dr. Hassan Abdullahi is a man of so much experience and we believe that today is going to bring all of us wealth of experience to bear in comfort. Dr. Hassan Abdullahi has done so well for himself, both in the field of academics and in the industry. Over time, he has shown so much dexterity in the way life should go. He's a man of great wealth of experience. He holds 3 degrees: first degree, second degree, and third degree. He's a holder of business management, doctorate of business management from Swiss Business School. He has the cutting edge when it comes to banking, both in Nigeria and international level. I want to bring to the podium this morning where Dr. Hassan Abdullahi is going to share with us how to transcend through the academic environment and into the industry, and to be able to analyze things within the local entity level and at international level. He's a man of experience. On this note, permits me to bring to the podium Dr. Hassan Abdullahi. You have it there. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Emmanuel, for that warm introduction. Good morning, everyone. Please, can you hear me and see me?
We can hear you and see you.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. And I'm sorry, from the hall as well, Dr. Emmanuel and team on ground, can you hear me and see me as well? Bolwatife, Daniel, please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, all right. All right, fantastic. Good morning, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to be here today. Thank you, Dr. Emmanuel, for that warm reception, and I'll speak about you towards the end of my presentation, how God has used you to bless me and people around me significantly. All right. Good morning again, once again, to distinguished organizers and fellow speakers as well, and most importantly, the students of the Global Academic Conference for Students, right? My name is Dr. Hassan Abdullahi, as I was introduced earlier. I'm a banker with almost 20 years experience, and I'm currently the Deputy Managing Director for Access Bank Tanzania Limited, a subsidiary of Access Bank PLC, you all know, right? Today I'll be speaking on, I'm an engineer by training, by first degree, and I forayed into the finance world. So some of my friends called me a financial engineer, all right? And I'll tell you where the world of engineering meets finance as we continue to I'll try to make this presentation short. Today I'll be speaking to you on a very important subject called town and gown, right? What students need to know and prepare for, right? And what this simply means is the town here, right, refers. This simply means how the university environment, which we call the gown, right, connects with the wider societies and industries, right, and the real life opportunities, which we call the town, right. By the end of this session, we'll be able to understand why this connection between these two points are very important, right? And how you as students, or we as students, can prepare ourselves for the world outside the classroom. So those are the takeaway from this presentation. I'll make it very short as I said earlier. So next slide, please. I think my next slide speaks to, hello? Okay, cool. So my next slide. So let's break it down. The town represents the real world. By real world, we mean the economy, businesses, industries, communities, and government, right? While the gown represents the academic world, and the universities, lecturers, classrooms, book, theories, conference, right? For too long, many students focus on the gown, right? That's passing exams, writing thesis, collecting certificates, right? But they forget that the town. You know what this results in? It results in when the students finally graduate, they find themselves unprepared for the demands of employers and the society, right? So I'll give you an example. For example, a computer science graduate who has studied programming language for 5 years, 6 years, for example, right? But cannot build a website, right, for a paying client, right? So what the students has done, in essence, is focused on the gown, but they ignored the town. So our discussion today is how to avoid this trap that most students find themselves in today. So which leads me into my next slide, which speaks more of the gap between the town and the gown, right? There's often a big gap between students, what students learn in school and what the real world expects, right? I'm speaking from experience, right? In the university, what we do basically today, right, is that we're taught, theories, concepts, academic excellence. Don't get me wrong, that is needed because that's the foundation for success, right? But in the real world, you know what the employers are looking for today? What employers and companies are looking for today are people that are going to provide them with solutions, people that are going to give them innovative ideas, people that are going to bring practical skills on board. That is what, these employers are looking for today. So for example, right, let me use an engineering student, which was my first home, for example. You study thermodynamics. You might get A's in thermodynamics, which is a course in engineering, right? You might get distinction in thermodynamics, right? But you might not know the basic of how to operate a simple machine in a factory, right? Let me come to the business world, right? You might have a business administration student who might write a very lovely paper, a lovely essay, right, on marketing strategy, right? But when you give these students a product to sell on campus, to develop a campaign, a real life campaign to sell this product on campus, this student might find it difficult, right? This is why most students face unemployment. Not because they are not intelligent. Intelligence is taken for granted in this particular concept, but because the gap between the town and the gown has not been bridged. The good news today that I want to give to you, that it's not too late. You can close it, right, while we're still in school. Which leads me to my next slide, which speaks to academic preparation, right? Academic work today is still the foundation, right? Academic work, we can't take it, like I said in my previous slide, it is the recipe for success. You must take it seriously as students, right? You must learn the basics of academic principles, learn how to research properly, learn how to write good paper. Don't just copy and paste from the internet. Read widely, analyze, right? You need to build your own writing skills, right? Because they're going to help you in any career. Writing skills is any career you choose, whether you are in the medical field, engineering field, business field, a good writing and analytics skill would help you reach the peak of your career. You must develop critical thinking ability, right? You must be able to question status quo, ask questions. Don't just say yes to everything. Ask questions, right? Challenge ideas, right? Form your own conclusion from facts and facts available to you, right? So I'll tax us, for example, as an accounting student. Let me use an accounting student, for example. Instead of you memorizing the various accounting standards and cramming them to pass exams, why don't you just prepare a real financial statement, right, for your department, for a small barber shop in your school, for a small laundry shop or dry cleaner, from a small kiosk? Why don't you prepare a real life financial statement, right? As against just memorizing the principle, memorizing those accounting standards just to pass the exam. Then you now begin to bring those theoretical, learning into practical use. Remember, your degree is just the beginning, right? Not the end, right? And the world is changing too fast for you to stop learning. Many years ago, the computer programming languages that we learned 15, 20 years ago, they are not relevant in this current market, in this current reality. So you must continuously upscale yourself. You must continuously learn, not to be left behind, right? Which leads me to my next slide, which speaks to career readiness, right? So beyond academics, you must be career ready, right? And which is why we're here today, right? And to help you be career ready, there are very critical things that we must factor. So I'll say one, internship, right? Internship, right, would expose you to the real world, right? I'll give you my real life scenario as we proceed in slide, but the learnings that you get in this internship and in these practical opportunities, you don't get to read them in textbooks, right? Even if these internships are short, even if they are unpaid, right? They give you exposure to the real world and for you to be able to analyze and understand complex issues, right? Another thing that I would like to bring into attention is networking. Networking matters, right? Most job opportunities today come from people you know, right? So you must continuously network, meet people of like minds, continuously show ideas, volunteer for different things. Then another thing that you need to do is you need to start building a portfolio, right? You need to keep what we call records of any positive achievements you do. Keep the record of every project, of every research you did, everything you volunteered to do in school, right? You must, document it, right? Every leadership role, you were given a course and you were given a task and you took the leadership opportunity. You need to document those things, right? Then again, one thing is that because this documentation of these things begins to show that your skills acquired are in action. So let me give you an example. As an engineering student or a computer science or an IT student, right, in school, why don't you create a small mobile application to mark attendance, right, for your class, right? When people come to class, just do something to show, right, for your department, as small as it is, right? Because when you do those things from your learnings, from your theoretical learnings, you know what it begins to do? It begins to prove your ability. Then you begin to document it. And you see that when you go to the outside world, the documentation of these, your abilities, is going to give you edge over people that have not documented it, right? Next slide, I'll quickly want to speak about skills for the future. There are some skills that cannot go out of one, right? The workplace of the future, right, desire a lot of skills, desire some critical skills, so to speak, right? And there are some skills that cannot go out of demand, right? Typical skills like digital skills, your communication skills. You heard when the convener was speaking about communication skills, right? Earlier when we started the program, right? Those are skills that don't go off the market. Teamwork, right? Working as a team, right? Adaptability, right? So digital skills like, data analysis, programming, designing tools, those are useful tools, even as basic as Excel, understanding how to use Excel. These are tools that are critical, that cut across industry. In the same, these skills are applicable in oil and gas industry, banking, you understand, manufacturing, fast-moving consumable goods industry, you understand, education. These digital skills are critical, right? Communication skills, right? So if you're an interview and you have two first-class people in an interview, and these are the two guys, you need to choose between one. Both of them, intelligence, 10 over 10, understanding of the theoretical matter, 10 over 10. You know, typically at times, what happens in most cases is the person that communicates better, that writes better and speaks better, that is confident, right, that gets the job. You understand? So it is very important to develop these communication skills. Teamwork. No matter how smart you are, you must work with others, right? You are not a bundle, you are not a reservoir of knowledge alone. You must work with others. And this is critical, right, as we begin to, you know, go into the future. So I'll tell you a quick story. I interviewed when I was I graduated, I interviewed, and we were 5 guys that they were shortlisted for that role. It was an entry level role, so they were going to take almost all of us. So they were just testing for some skills which were not academic related. So at the end of the day, 4 of us were taken and 1 was not taken, right? And the 4 of us were taken and 1 was not taken. So when we started work subsequently, so I'd started work, then I went to meet the one of the guys that interviewed us. We became friends along the way, and I asked him that, I remember we were 5 that you interviewed the last time, and I remember because we were all sitting in the receptionist together, you know, we were exchanging numbers, changing ideas, but I didn't see the last guy. The last guy didn't resume. The last guy didn't resume because the interviewer looked for these skills in that person, these communication skills, this teamwork, ability to adapt, right? But they were not present in that guy. But should I make it? Do you know what is surprising? The guy that was not taken got a first class, whereas the 4 other people that were taken got second class upper. So you can see that now it's not about the grades alone. So you see, so the guy that was not taken was the only guy that got the first class, was the only guy that didn't get the job. I'm sure he has moved on to better things in his career as well. But I just use this example, right, just to buttress the importance of communication skills, right, teamwork. Because the guy came up, he came up outrightly confident. He didn't want they tested for his teamwork capacity. He didn't show it. They tested for his communication skills. He wasn't up there, right? And so those are critical skills that employers look for, right? Another thing is adaptability that I need to quickly speak about, right? The world is changing quickly, right? And students must adapt. The students that adapt are the students that thrive, right? You know, during COVID, you remember, during COVID, the students that were able to, the businesses moved online, right? And it was no longer fiscal. And there were students that had digital skills, right? That had communication skills, right? That were able to adapt. Guess what those students were doing? Those students were earning money from home, and they were able to get jobs from home because of they exhibited these skills. So these are critical skills for the future. Let me quickly go to the next slide, which was speaking about opportunities beyond campus, right? So, like I said, the town is the outside world. You don't need to wait, right, to graduate before you begin to engage the outside world, right? You don't need to graduate before you begin to engage the outside world, right? You need to start small. There are things you need to do and show, like entrepreneurship, right? As a student, start something small, right? A student who runs a barber shop on campus, a student who runs a dry cleaner on campus, right? That runs a small kiosk on campus, right? Is already learning, right? It is not the barber shop that the student is learning. It is not the dry cleaning. The student is learning skills that are more than that. So that student that owns the barber shop is already learning pricing. He's already learning customer service. He's already learning negotiation. He's already learning time management, right? Those are the critical skills, and these cannot be taught. They're not in textbook. It is only when you do them that you learn them. You must learn to volunteer. Volunteering is a very, and community engagement. You need to begin to join students group, religious group, you know, volunteer for religious, for community projects, you understand, NGOs, right? Employees typically look for, in your CVs, employees look for students that have volunteering experience and leadership experience. Employees, because every student is taking for granted that you're intelligent. When I have first class and 2-1 people in the room, everybody is intelligent. So, but you now begin to pick you out, you know, for your exceptional traits. So you must begin to, so it's not time for you to, when the opportunities for you to volunteer in the department, you begin to go back. No, this is not the time for that to happen. This is the time for you to stand up, right? Always make yourself available, volunteer. You must begin to also, right? You remember I said that employers look out for people that have this leadership and volunteering experience. Another thing that's very critical here is that you must get exposed globally. Don't look at your competition. Don't look at Accra alone. Don't look at the Western Nigeria alone. Don't look at Nigeria alone, right? You begin to look global and begin to package yourself to be appealing. So I'll tell you, there's a school of thought that we are in our universities in Nigeria just theoretical and not practical enough, right? And for we that wanted to be able to compete internationally, right, then we now begin to look for those opportunities, right, to, you know, those our weaknesses, we begin to cover them. So I now begin to, even before the school introduced those compulsory industrial training and attachments and internship programs, I was already informally doing that, right, just to be able to bring myself to speed when compared to my international contemporaries. Because when we finished secondary school, some of our guys went abroad for their universities. We stayed in Nigeria for our university. So we share notes, we see what they do, right? So we begin to see that, okay, we are at a disadvantageous position, but to be able to compete when we graduate, we need to, you know, upscale ourselves. So we began to do those industrial attachment and training to be able to cover up. So what I'm saying in essence is that you must be able to strive to have that global exposure. You have to take free online courses. You know, there are student competitions that you can join, right? You know, there are exchange programs. I applied for an exchange program when I was graduating in Japan, right? And so those are the kind of opportunities that you begin to look out for, right? Just to make yourself have a global appeal, right? We know of many Nigerian students that took courses, free Google courses, you know, on Coursera, you know, certifications during school. And you know what? Those certifications help them secure jobs abroad, right? So just begin to prepare yourself, right, to be globally acceptable with that global exposure. I'll quickly speak to preparing for transition in my next slide. So you must begin to prepare for the early transition from students to professional life, right? And one of the first things that I would want our young students to do is they begin to build their CVs, right? And start adding experiences now. Don't wait for NYC or graduation. You don't have to wait for them. You need to start building those experiences now, right? Everything, every what do you call it? Every volunteering opportunities, leadership opportunities that you do, you begin to write them down and begin to build your CV. And you now see that it begins to add up, right? You must be interview ready. You must practice with your friends, you know, learn to answer questions confidently, right? Your families are your bounce board. They're your mirror. So you just please, at times, when I was growing up in my career, I just take my family members and say, please, I want to make a presentation to you. Have a presentation tomorrow, right? So you begin to bounce them off, and you can use the mirror as well. Professional etiquette is another very important thing, right? You must learn to compose yourself. You must learn to dress nice. You must learn to speak well. You must learn to address people with respect. You must learn to type professionally. You must learn to communicate respectfully. You must learn to send emails respectfully, right? And these are out. Employers will rather take someone that is a bit comported than someone that is a bit lousy, right? So you need to make yourself, you know, put yourself together and have that professional outlook, right? Mentorship, right? Finding the right mentors can open, you know, doors for you. You have to have as much mentors as possible, right? People have academic mentors, professional mentors, religious mentors, marital mentors, right? You have them, you must have them, because these guys know more than you. I'm privileged, right, to say that my academic mentor is the convener of this program, Dr. Emmanuel Ajola, and he's been very instrumental to everything I've achieved. You know, mentors are to guide you. They've been through that, right? And they handhold you through the process. I remember times I couldn't sleep at 3 a.m., right? Because my supervisor declined my thesis submission. And I called my mentor at 3 a.m. and he's there by my side, guiding me that, okay, this is how you go about it. Don't worry, not hope lost. Me, there are times that I said, okay, I'm giving up on this program, right? I told him, okay, I was doing my doctorate. I said, no, I'm giving up on this place. He says, no, you can't. So that's the work of mentors, to support you, right? When you are down, they've been through this, right? So they'll be able to handhold you, right? Through the process. They stand by you. These are the guys that give you I remember when I was going to defend my thesis, my doctorate thesis, right? I was so tensed. For 3 weeks, I was presenting to my mentor every day. You can ask him, he's in the hall. I was 3 weeks every day. A day before the thesis, I did 5 dry runs with him. And each dry run was about 30 minutes. 5, right? A day before the final presentation of the thesis, just to ensure that you come out elegant and flawless, right? So that's the work of mentors, to be able to hold you through you know, and they give you feedback, and this feedback, you know, open doors for you, right? I'll quickly want to tell my stories, right? Personal stories, and I've given an insight into it earlier, because I said, as a student, right, in Nigeria, then I knew I had confidence in my academic performance, right? I was top of my class in graduation. However, I knew that was not enough, right? So to help me be able to have the confidence that I'll use to engage the outside world, I look for internship opportunities in 2 companies. The first company was a manufacturing company, right? Somewhere in the industrial area of Lagos is Solo. It's a manufacturing company, right? So I stayed a few months there, 3 months there. The first week was very tough, right? I had no dealing with any book. I didn't see any book in the factories, no theories, you know. I was just in the factory, surrounded by machines, workers, you know, production targets. In fact, the only books there were the books that had the production targets, right? So then I now started learning how, you know, raw materials were turned into finished goods, you know, how logistics worked, right? How teams solve problems when machines break down, right? So those things, you couldn't get them in the book, right? So those hands-on. So it now gave me the confidence, right? Then subsequently, I looked for another fast moving consumable good company in Lagos, somewhere in Ijora, 7-Up bottling company, right? Just to get another feel of experience, right? And the experience I got there was also different, because this experience now taught me what marketing was about, what sales distribution was about, you know, how product, right, actually reached customers in markets and shops, you know, from the production lines, right? So, you know, these 2 opportunities gave me lessons that no textbook provide, right? It taught me how to work under pressure, right? It taught me how to communicate with people at all levels, right? It taught me how to solve real life problems, right? So when I graduated, I was not just holding a degree. I wasn't just holding a degree, right? I had practical skills, right? Confidence and references, you know, and that gave me good advantage over it gave me a huge advantage over some of my contemporaries, right? So bringing it home, what should we do now, right? I'll give about 3-4 advices what we should do now. 1, we should take responsibility for our future. We shouldn't wait on luck, right? You know, they say luck is opportunities meet preparedness. So don't wait on luck, right? Just be prepared for the opportunities. So we must take responsibility for our future, right? We must be proactive, right? seek for mentors, apply for internship, join networks, right? You must stay curious, stay curious. You must stay curious. By staying curious, what we mean is that you must be widely read, you must attend events, you must take online courses, right? Then most importantly and finally, you must begin to build relationships. You know, opportunities come from often from people that you know, right? But you know, you might know people, but you are not prepared for that role. So it really means nothing. So these opportunities come from people that you know, right? So for example, today, like a student that is studying graphics design today, you know, can start designing posters for, you know, in school, for student events, for, you know, the student elections and all those things we do on campus, right? You might just start by designing those posters, right? Which can eventually turn into a bigger digital marketing career, you know, for those students, right? The town is waiting, but only waiting for people who prepare. The town is waiting. There are a lot of opportunities out there, but only waiting for people who prepare. In conclusion, right, let me end with this. I'll say one thing, which is critical play, and I want everybody to listen to this. Academic knowledge without practical skills is incomplete. Academic knowledge without practical skills is incomplete. Then two, practical skills without academic knowledge may also limit you. You know, so with due respect to everyone, so the artisans we have on the road, the mechanics, the plumbers, the carpenters, you know, they have the practical skills without the academic knowledge. So they are limited to what they achieve. But when you combine both of them, you'll be unstoppable. You'll be unstoppable. And the future belongs to the people who act now, not later, right? I'll leave you with this quote from W.B. Yeats, which is one of my favorite quotes, right? Education is not the feeling of a pill, but the lighting of fire, right? Thank you very much, everyone. God bless you.
Let's get in touch with the participants. With our online participants, if you have any questions, please drop it on the chat. We're going to pick it up and get across to the person. For those of us that are in-house as well, if you have any questions, for Dr. Hassan? Do you have any questions for Dr. Hassan? So I have a question here for you. Just brief. What will you be advising the young someone who has just 2 years to go, 2 years more to go in the university, before graduating, 2 years more to go? What will you be advising such students to be looking out for as preparation to the markets? Dr. Hassan, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, I was speaking. Sorry, yes, apologies. I was speaking while on mute, right?
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So the question is, what will you be advising as preparation for the student who has 2 years more to go in the university or getting into the markets? What will you be advising that student to be doing right now?
Okay, fantastic. This speaks to preparing for the transition, right? This means transiting from the student life to professional life. So I mean, like I said, right, it is important that we begin to prepare early, and this is the best time for you to do that, right? One thing I said, start adding your experiences now. You don't have to wait for NYC or graduation, right? You need to start building your CV now, right? Every volunteering, every leadership role that you take, you begin to document them. 2, you must learn how to communicate, how to learn how to answer questions, confidently and clearly. Like I said in my presentation, you must prepare with your family members, right, for interview readiness, right? Like I said, luck is preparedness meeting opportunities, right? So you must be able to prepare yourself to be interview ready at any time. Another thing is the professional etiquette we spoke about, right? You must learn how to dress well, communicate well, communicate respectfully, type emails, proper emails. And on a lighter note, let me make you laugh. So when I was in the university, my email was it was hasniggers@yahoo.com. And I noticed I was sending my CVs. When I graduated, it wasn't a proper email. It was just like some hip hop kind of email. So I noticed I wasn't getting the right audience. Then I now recalibrated. Someone just advised me that, sorry, your email is not professional enough, right? For you to have an appeal to the outside world, you must be able to have that, be able to, appease professionally, right? So I had to change it to a more conservative email, right? Lastly, like I told you, mentors. You must find someone that can guide you, right? Give you feedback on your performances, right? And can open doors for you. I've said it, you can have academic mentors. You mustn't have only one mentor. You have professional mentors in the industry, academic mentors, religious mentors, and those will open. So one last thing that I want to say. So what employees love to see, let me give you an illustration. So instead of you to just say, I studied economics, right? Employers will like to see things like, I led a project, right? Where me and my team, for example, analyzed the sales of a small business in Akure, right? And we gave recommendation on how to improve their income by 15%. So imagine two people that one just said I studied economics, right? And the other person now says, okay, I led a project where my team analyzed the sales of a small business in Akure and gave recommendation that improved their income by 15%. You see the person which is going to have a more acceptable appeal to the employer. So these are the things we just need to continuously work on, and with God on our side, we'll be able to achieve the required success. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Dr. Hassan. That's a good one. Knowing not just your course of study, but everything that has to do with your course of study, and projects and assignments that you've done so far within those courses is very important. We appreciate you, Dr. Hassan. Thank you for this. If there are other questions in the course of the conference, we'll get them across to you to provide answer to them. And it's very important. All right, thank you.